Welcome to the Her Story Circle podcast, the podcast that brings you the extraordinary tales of everyday women who are changing the world. I'm your host, Gertrude Mache, and I'd like to acknowledge traditional custodians of the land on which we meet today. I also like to pay my respects to elders, past, present, and emerging. Every week, we dive into the lives, challenges, and triumphs of women from all four corners of the globe. We're here to inspire, enlighten, and connect, sharing stories that uplift and empower. So grab a cup of coffee, settle in, and join us as we explore the incredible journeys of women shaping our future. This is Her Story, where every woman's voice matters. Hello, everybody, and welcome back to the Her Story TV and the Her Story podcast. This is Gertrude Mache here in beautiful Melbourne, Australia. And today I am graced with the presence of yet another fascinating young woman. Welcome, welcome, welcome to our tribe. Please tell everybody your full name, where you're based, how old you are, and share your story with us today.
Hi, Gertrude. Thank you so much for this opportunity. I'm Tammy Jordan, the president and founder of Fruits of Labor. I'm 47 years old, and I'm based out of West Virginia. And we are so excited to be able to share our story with you. Fruits of Labor is actually 22 years old this year, and it started out as a culinary and agricultural opportunity to just really expand into catering and weddings and the farm to table concept. And then about 10 years into owning Fruits of Labor, I went to visit a lady that I knew in a local prison. And that engagement forever changed my life. It changed the entire direction of our company. And it was something that I could see in waiting through the waiting room for her to come in and have that visitation time with me, that there was such a need for engagement for individuals after they exited the prison system. And I knew our company was farm to table with culinary, wedding cake design, floral design, as well as all of the agricultural production systems that we have, would allow us to really be able to reach, especially women, as they exited the prison system. And so I spent the next couple of years really just identifying what we wanted to do as a company, how we wanted to support those that were really trying to re-navigate life and to have this hope and joy brought back into their circle, and to be able to engage them at the level of employment, as well as education and training. And so we launched our very first training program 11 years ago. And we started with 10 amazing women from our local drug court. So we really focused with women that were recovering from substance use disorder. We know that there are so many barriers, not only for reentry and reorientation within life, just to get their feet back on the ground and starting again. Many of our students also have children, and so we know that we are impactful for the next generation. So that started, we have an 80% graduation rate. They come into Fruits of Labor, our very first class, and they came into our commercial kitchen. We closed our business 2 days a week to offer this. It's free of charge for our students. In the very beginning, we were closing 2 days a week, and everything was around them. Everything was focused on how do you see yourself, your value and your worth? Where do you want to be in the future, and how can we help you get there? And so we would go out back of our catering center. We had fields planted. We would walk out and pick product just for their lunch. They would come back in and learn simply how to prepare their lunch as well as plate it. And then everyone would sit down and gather around the table. We would have coaching coaching and mentoring opportunities right alongside of industry standard. And so from there, we really saw the need to actually employ them long term. And so instead of just having a catering center, we expanded and added a cafe and bakery. And so that was such an important next step for us. It was not something that personally I had a goal of owning. But I can tell you, when you see lives being transformed, you are willing to take the steps into areas that you may not have planned just from a business perspective. And so in 2014, we launched our very first cafe, bakery, and training center. We welcomed the public in. They were able to sit down and dine and be able to engage with our students, see their progress. Really just having this space of seeing that recovery is possible and becoming a champion for our participants. And that's such a wonderful healing opportunity. It's hope giving. It's bringing people that many times felt outside of community because of their past. It's ushering them right back into community space and into a welcomed area. And so we have this recovery-centric work culture. It's something that we really have defined and refined within our organization and made it something that is absolutely essential to support individuals that are going through this transition in their life. And from there, 2 years later, we unfortunately experienced a 1,000-year flood in our community. It wiped out our cafe and training center there. So we had to start from scratch, rebuilding. And some of the very first phone calls I received were from graduating students that said, "Oh my goodness, I heard, what can I do to help?" And so not only were we seeing individuals in recovery, we were also seeing our small community in recovery. And West Virginia, certainly has been known to have addiction issues. And so we really feel like we are in that space and time to incredibly invest within our community. And so that grew. We saw recovery happening within just the flood recovery, as well as continuing recovery within our region that was supporting our students. And so from that experience came a phrase that said, what would it look like? The location we're at is called Raynell. What would it look like if Raynell became a community of healing? And that was in 2017. That phrase came out of a meeting as we were gathered community leaders to see our community change and develop. And from that phrase, I carried it with me for 3 years. And I was able to ask leaders all across the nation as I met them, what does that mean? What would be components of a community of healing? Not health, but of healing. And so we engaged at that level for 3 years. What would that look like, that research? And from there in 2020, we launched a program called Communities of Healing, where we are training businesses all across our state to employ individuals in recovery. And from that investment, we opened up 3 more cafes, coffee shops, and bakeries across our region. So now we have 4 facilities. We are able to impact and train a large number of lives every single year, getting certification through the American Culinary Federation while they are being employed and trained. It's an amazing opportunity. We go alongside of businesses, talking to them about what is important within recovery communities. How do we facilitate that? We open up our model to look through that. We also bring in business strengthening opportunities, as well as the recovery aspect of things. And so this is a 3-year-long program. We had committed to serving 75 businesses. We have already trained 150, and we anticipate that number to go over 200 within the year. And so just seeing our region come alive and understand, as a business owner, you have impact, you have capabilities to employ, even if it's just one person in recovery. our state would be radically changed if every business was able to participate. And so that journey continues. We now have 4 cafes and bakeries and coffee shops across the region that we have launched. We launched 3 of them in 1 year's time. We served over 79 students last year, and we anticipate to have over 100 this year. So it's been a whirlwind of a journey, but I'm so deeply honored to walk alongside individuals in recovery, both women and men, and at-risk youth as an addiction prevention program. We are at 80% student run in all of our cafes, so that's such an amazing opportunity. And we are at about 85% success rate for graduation from our training programs.
Wow. You know, what fascinates me about your story, Tammy, is you saw a need and you turned a traditional business into a social impact project, really. It's so difficult for people who have been incarcerated to get back into the workforce, to be able to function and get jobs and feed their families. What was it about that one particular woman, that one particular story that touched you?
I think that it is absolutely seeing a feeling of hopelessness in the women as I sat and watched. The prison that I went to really looks like a college campus. It has amazing old buildings that it's very welcoming in an aesthetic standpoint. But when I saw the hopelessness in the eyes of the women that were walking past, there were these huge windows in the viewing area that I was waiting on into that visitation room. And so I waited for a few minutes for her to come, and I just watched woman after woman walk past, and I saw that sense of hopelessness that needed to change. And that only changes when there are opportunities. And so I knew that we had industry opportunities that we could share. And even at that time, we weren't able to think about employment because we were just catering. But it was something that was just so deeply implanted in me during that time of we have to be part of this solution, and we can utilize what we have in our hands. That's what we had. We didn't have funding. We literally had what was available, what we used every day. And it just made sense to say, yes, we're going to close down 2 days a week. And yes, we're going to provide this training. And we had no idea where it would go over the next decade, but it has taken us to places that I never thought possible. And we've watched babies be born healthy. We've watched mothers reunited with their children. We've seen parents come back together with their adult daughters. And it's gathering around the table and saying there's space for everyone. And we want you here. And even in the times of relapse or the times of difficulties, it's still saying, I'm still here. You haven't pushed me away. I'm waiting for your return, and there's opportunity. And so we even see someone come back if there has been a relapse and say, hey, I want to be here, and I know this is where I need to be.
That is just absolutely amazing. Now, all of the skills that you are training people with are really transferable skills that can get them employment, can help in the home. There's a ripple effect to everything you've done. Now, there's got to be something about you that was planted in you probably in your formative years. I just want to talk a little bit about giving. What changed your life when someone gave to you? Where does this giving spirit come from?
Oh my goodness. My parents and grandparents and great grandparents just are very much servant leaders. And so really being raised in that environment with faith, seeing that you really are in this situation of we can hoard things or we can let things flow through us. And I think that my parents lived that out beautifully, that you really just let things flow through your life, and we're not to just lay hold of it and say this is a possession that I must have and keep, but rather how can it be used to help support another person. And so that having that mentoring and that example of parents that lived that out from the time that I can remember certainly made this an easy choice to see individuals have an opportunity that I think if I were there, what would I wish for? And we just built a program around that, because really just by the grace of God that I've never found myself in the same situation, because we all can make choices that are challenging to our lives. And so it's one of those things I would want someone there with their hands opened saying, come, just come walk with us, and we will do all that we can to provide an environment for you to do the hard work of recovery. And that's really what we're doing. We're providing a support system and an environment, but they are doing that hard investment. And oh my gosh, the celebrations that happen when we see these mile markers just tick by in their life, it's extraordinary.
That is just absolutely fascinating. Now, why is giving so important for the future of humanity, do you think? Why should we all be looking at what's gone wrong in the world? And why should we all try and be a solution to the problems that we see in the world?
Absolutely. I think that we sometimes so desperately want resolution, and we do want solutions, but many times we forget what is actually in our hands can become part of the solution. Or sometimes fear can not knowing where to start, being afraid that you don't have enough, or that you don't know enough, that you haven't been trained in this. It can hinder people that do have a good and giving spirit to hold back just because they're not really sure where to get started. And from that, that's why we developed communities of healing, where like just jump in alongside of us, and you do have the tools. We're just identifying them to that place. So sometimes giving spirits are absolutely there, embedded in entrepreneurs that are in small communities and in large communities. And they're found there. And to have someone walk alongside of you and cultivate that and say, see, you have all of the skill sets. It allows them the encouragement to take those first steps. And then once they take that first step, I think that really starts to engage them at a core level of, I really can make a small impact here, one person at a time, which is a huge impact to that person.
So, who is Tammy Jordan, the woman behind this incredible business? Tell us a little bit about yourself, your training, your family. How did you get to become who you are?
So I was raised with an amazing family, to be honest. My grandparents were very involved in my life. My parents were very involved. My brother and I are both visionaries. Our parents never said, this is impossible, you can't do this. It was always, if you put your mind to it and you are willing to invest what it takes, that you can find a way to either do it yourself or engage with others that can help you along the way. And so at 5 years old, I went to a dairy farm, and I came home and told mom, I don't know how my mom didn't laugh at this, but I came home and I said, so when I grow up, I want to own a show farm. And so for a mom to hear that from a 5-year-old is something certainly unusual. And so she said, well, what's a show farm? What does that look like? And I described, the fencing and the nice lawn. And from a dairy farm perspective, the one that I visited, it was very well kept and well groomed. And I loved it, every single part about it. My mom was raised on a farm, so she understood the agricultural side. We were trained in the garden. And she said, there's a lot of work to keep things that pristine. And so what do you think you would be willing to do? And so we just had these open dialogues. And I eventually went to college for agricultural research, worked with the USDA Department of Agriculture for over a decade while simultaneously growing Fruits of Labor. We started out as an agricultural company growing specialty market foods for local restaurants and executive chefs. I was also raised in a family that loved to cook, preserve food. Very much about nourishment and multiple generations coming together weekly for a large family meal at my great grandmother's house. So all of those things were part of it. My mom decorated wedding cakes for years. So one day I came in and just said, hey, we need to expand the company. We're going to start doing catering and floral design and wedding cakes. I was already growing the flowers and shipping them to 3 states. So just a couple years into the company, we started offering that. Our very first wedding, which was mostly our target, was higher end weddings, so that we came in and did all of the floral design, all the wedding cake, and all of the catering and coordinating. And I published 4 magazines for weddings and really became well known around the region. But our very first wedding was over, like 450 people. So it really kind of threw us into what does this look like, and prepared us for the future. But without expanding into the culinary industry, our opportunities for our students would have been more limited. So I'm so grateful to see how that farm to table came full circle, and how that the nourishing part of coming together around the table was so deeply implanted in my life, which allowed us to transfer that to our students now.
This is so inspiring. What an inspiring story. I just absolutely love everything you stand for and everything you've done with this business. It's incredible. In Africa, we say that is a quote, and I have to translate it into English, but it's Hukama Igasha Nusungwane Chikafu, which means friendships are formed when people sit around the table and they break bread, when you eat together, you serve a meal. So there's something about food and building relationships, and it sounds to me like you have done it in a very, very fascinating way. And what I also love is it's all things food, right? It's fresh food, it's preservatives, it's the weddings, a whole array of skills are learned. How long is the training? How long is the training course that you put people through?
So I love that quote that you shared, because it's so beautiful to understand the nourishment that happens both to our bodies and our soul around the dinner table. Our training, as we expanded, it can be as short as 12 weeks, and that will give entry level opportunities like safety, sanitation, knife skill sets, so that they can transfer into another location to be hired. Or if our hope, which is typically the case, that they will stay with us. And so because we are certified through the American Culinary Federation, within about 2.5 to 3 years, we can have students certify as culinarians or pastry culinarians. If they stay with us 4 to 5 years, depending upon how quickly they progress, they can petition to be tested for sous chef positions or a working pastry chef. And if they would stay another couple of years, we can work with them to certify as chef de cuisine. So we have this wonderful rolling opportunity to say, you know, we're here for as long as you would like us to be here. We can help connect into industry, into resorts, into restaurants, into agricultural opportunities as they are ready to go out, or we can continue forward. So we have we actually have 6 students right now that just graduated their 6-month training program, and now they have graduated to station supervisors. So it is the very first entry level into our management program, and they are teaching and training the next group of students coming through, and they're having such a great time with it. And it's so empowering to them because we saw the gift set in them, we've cultivated it, we encourage them, and then we're providing additional coaching and training, and they are thriving in this, and it's wonderful. We have one of our managers that manages all of our baking, our retail wholesale baking, as well as one of our locations, our second largest location. She is in recovery. She has been with us for, in February, it will be 3 years. And so we are so excited about her progress, and we continue to be able to give pay increases and responsibility increases. And she's thriving, and her testimony to the other students is overwhelming, and they absolutely adore her.
This, I just don't have the words. I do not have the words in terms of what you're doing, how inspiring this is. Now, you specialized in growing flowers. That's now another segue to everything you do. You're so multi-talented. What kind of flowers did you focus on, and why?
So initially, we were shipping to 3 different states around our region, and we were really known as the sunflower farm. It was the main product that we shipped to multi locations. We did have some zinnias as well, and so those are just annuals and very easy for us to navigate through. The exciting part is 2023. We are massively increasing our floriculture system. It will be field to florist. And so we will not only be training students at a much more intensive for management of the different floricultures, but also being able to bring in and train full into floral design. That is usually just a small part of the program previously, but now with this entire department, massive high tunnels are going in, greenhouses, and then we are expanding our maple syrup production system. So that's coming. We have thousands of taps of maple trees. So that will be our first product line, is anticipated to be being produced in January or February of 2024. So we have to wait almost a year for that. And we're putting in a huge mushroom cultivation center as well as honey. So all of that is coming in 2023 and early 2024, in addition to several massive greenhouses with high-level technology for our own vegetable cultivation year round, hopefully year round. We may only be 10 months because we're in a very cold region. But that will allow us to ship fresh produce into our 4 communities, which the majority of those communities are at poverty level, and they're distressed. And so we are able to bring in nourishment to that community beyond just having food available in our cafes. So super exciting year.
Well, I wish I could visit and come and see exactly what you're doing. I've just currently been offered a position to manage a small farm that
Oh,
is going to service the refugee community from Africa who are here in Melbourne. So everything you've said is absolutely music to my ears, because I grew up on a small little plot of land. My parents were market gardeners, and having this opportunity to work with these young people, I'm going to be the youth coordinator for this project. So everything you said it's like you and I were supposed to meet today. So thank you for being an example of the possibility of where I can take my project. And this is really why I do these interviews, to connect with smart women who've done it before. I don't want to reinvent the wheel, you know? We can all share ideas that can help the next woman do it quicker, do it smarter. So I'm going to ask you to be my mentor. I will want to stay in touch with you for sure. And thank you so much for being the change that you wanted to see in the world. This is awesome.
Thank you. And I hope that one day maybe you can come and visit. We have a retreat center as well that actually is focused on pastors as well as authors. And so you may find yourself that you could come and visit us.
Sounds awesome. I will definitely take you up on that, because I am an author, always looking for quiet spots to go and write. Thank you so much, Tammy, for this interview.
Thank you.
And thank you to everybody who's tuned in today. The Her Story Circle is meeting some incredible women who are creating businesses, not just to benefit themselves, but to have an impact in their communities. Tammy is an excellent example of that. So tune in again tomorrow when I interview yet another amazing woman. In the meantime, have a fantastic day, morning, or evening, wherever you are in the world, and bye for now. Thanks again, Tammy.
Thank you.
Thank you for tuning into the Her Story Circle podcast. I hope today's story has inspired you to believe in the power of our stories and the difference you can make in the world when you use your voice. I'm Gertrude Mache, and it's been an honor to share this space with you, where voices from all walks of life come together to weave a rich tapestry of diverse perspectives. Don't forget to subscribe, rate, and review our podcast to help us share these stories with more listeners. Follow us on social media by looking for the Her Story Circle podcast for more updates. And join us tomorrow for another episode filled with courage, resilience, and empowerment. Remember, your story matters, and together we're building a stronger, more inclusive world. Until next time, keep making her